It's funny how you can board a bus thinking you're just headed to a summer camp, only to realize you're actually driving straight into a storm that will wreck your heart in the most beautiful way. Or maybe it wasn't funny at all because I didn't know yet that meeting him would change everything I thought I knew about myself. The camp was in upstate New York, surrounded by endless forests and a lake so still it looked like glass. I wasn't excited. My parents had shoved me on that bus with the kind of hopeful look that made me feel like I was failing them. They said I needed a reset after a rough school year. But all I wanted was to disappear into my headphones and survive the next 6 weeks unnoticed. But then there was him, Daniel. He was one of the senior mentors, probably only 5 or 6 years older than me. But his presence carried a kind of weight that silenced even the rowdiest campers. He wasn't intimidating, more like steady, safe, the kind of guy you could trust with your secrets without him even asking for them. And for some reason, on that very first day, his eyes found me in the crowd of restless kids. "You new here?" he asked, smiling like it was the simplest thing in the world. I nodded, mumbling something stupid about how I'd never been camping before. "That's okay," he said. "You'll learn fast. Stick with me." I didn't know then how much those words would mean. The days at camp followed a rhythm: wake up bells at dawn, breakfast in the mess hall, canoeing, hiking, bonfires at night. Everyone else seemed to love it, but I was restless, always aware of how out of place I felt. I wasn't the athletic type, not the loud one who told jokes, not the social butterfly making friends left and right. I was just me, quiet. And yet, Daniel never let me drift too far into the background. He'd pair up with me during team activities, patiently showing me how to hold a paddle without tipping the canoe, or slowing his pace on the trails so I wouldn't fall behind. When we sat around the fire, his laughter carried, and I hated how much I wanted to be the reason he laughed like that. One night, I caught myself staring at him longer than I should have. The firelight made shadows dance across his face, and I wondered if he ever felt lonely, too, even when he was surrounded by people. When his eyes suddenly met mine, my heart jumped, but he didn't look away. Instead, he gave me this small, knowing smile that felt like a secret between us. The first crack in my walls came during a thunderstorm. Lightning split the sky open one night, rain crashing against the cabins like fists on wood. Everyone scrambled inside, but for some reason, panic clawed at my chest. Storms always reminded me of the fights back home, the ones I pretended not to hear. I sat on my bunk, fists clenched, trying to breathe through the chaos outside. And then Daniel was there. "Hey," he said softly, crouching down beside me. "You good?" I wanted to lie, to brush it off. But something in his voice, steady, patient, unshakable, broke me. My throat tightened, and before I could stop it, the words slipped out. "I hate storms." He didn't laugh, didn't say I was being dramatic. He just sat with me, shoulder to shoulder, until the thunder softened into distant rumbles. At one point, his hand brushed mine, and instead of pulling away, I let it stay. It was the first time in years I felt safe. But safety is dangerous when you start wanting more. The more time I spent with Daniel, the more I caught myself memorizing things I had no right to, like the way his hair curled slightly when it got wet, or how his voice dropped when he was tired. Every little detail felt like it belonged to me even though it didn't. And the truth scared me, because I knew what it meant. I wasn't supposed to fall for him. He was my mentor, my guide, the guy who was supposed to help me survive camp, not the reason I dreaded the day it would end. Yet one night, when everyone else was asleep, we found ourselves by the lake. The moonlight stretched across the water, and the world was so quiet it felt like it was holding its breath. "Do you ever feel like you don't fit anywhere?" I asked, my voice barely louder than the wind. Daniel didn't answer right away. He just looked at me, really looked at me, like he was peeling back every layer I'd built to hide myself. Then he said, "Yeah, more often than you'd think." And then his hand reached for mine. This time there was no accident, no hesitation. Just warmth, solid and real, grounding me in a way nothing else ever had. For the first time in my life, I didn't feel like I was standing on the outside. I was exactly where I belonged. If the first half of camp had felt like slowly stepping out of a shadow, the last half felt like walking straight into the sun. And that sun burned. Because the closer Daniel and I grew, the more impossible it felt to keep the truth locked inside my chest. He was still my mentor. Still the guy with authority, the one everyone looked up to. But when it was just the two of us, away from the crowd, he wasn't untouchable. He was Daniel, messy-haired in the mornings, soft-eyed when he was tired, and devastatingly kind in ways that made me want things I wasn't supposed to want. And of course, nothing this fragile stays hidden forever. It happened one night at the bonfire. Someone had brought a guitar, and the air was filled with laughter, songs, and the kind of careless joy you only find in places untouched by the outside world. I was sitting close to Daniel, maybe too close, when one of the other mentors teased, "You two are practically joined at the hip these days." The kids laughed. I froze. Daniel's smile didn't falter, but I saw the flicker in his eyes, the tiny shift of tension. He clapped the guy on the shoulder and brushed it off with a joke, but my stomach twisted into knots. Because if they could see it, if they noticed even a fraction of what I was feeling, what did that mean? That night, I barely slept. I kept replaying every look, every moment, wondering if I had crossed a line without realizing it. By dawn, I was convinced I'd ruined everything. The confrontation came sooner than I expected. We were assigned to clean up the trails together the next morning. It was quiet, just the crunch of leaves under our boots, until Daniel finally broke the silence. "You okay?" he asked, glancing at me. I nodded too quickly. "Yeah, fine." He stopped walking, forcing me to stop too. His voice was gentle, but there was no escaping it. "Don't lie to me." Something in me cracked. Maybe it was exhaustion, maybe it was the weight of pretending for too long. I blurted it out before I could stop myself. "They're right. I am too close to you, and I don't know how to stop." The words hung in the air, heavy and dangerous. My chest felt like it was caving in. Daniel didn't speak at first. He just looked at me, and for a terrifying second, I thought I'd destroyed the one thing that mattered. But then he sighed, running a hand through his hair. "You think I don't feel it too?" he said quietly. The world tilted. "But it's not simple," he went on. "I'm supposed to be guiding you, not this." He gestured helplessly between us. "I know," I whispered. My throat ached. "I know it's wrong, but I can't help it." His expression softened in a way that broke me. He looked torn, like part of him wanted to run and part of him wanted to stay. Finally, he said, "We can't control what we feel, but we can control what we do." And just like that, the wall was back between us. The days that followed were torture. Daniel didn't avoid me, not exactly, but there was distance now, a carefulness in every word, every gesture. He still paired up with me for activities, still made sure I wasn't left behind, but the warmth that had once been ours alone was gone. I hated it. I hated myself for ruining what we had, and I hated the silence that grew heavier with each passing day. The breaking point came during the camp's final overnight hike. It was tradition, everyone trekking into the woods, setting up tents by the river, sleeping under the stars. I should have been excited, but all I felt was dread. Because the end of camp was near, and with it, the end of whatever fragile connection I had with Daniel. That night, lying in my tent, I couldn't take it anymore. I slipped outside, needing air, needing distance from the ache in my chest. I wandered down to the river, the moonlight rippling across the water, and tried to swallow the lump in my throat. I didn't hear him approach until he spoke. "Couldn't sleep?" I turned. Daniel stood there, hands shoved in his pockets, looking just as restless as I felt. For a long moment, we just stared at each other, the unspoken words pressing between us. Finally, I broke. "I don't want this to end. I don't want to leave here and pretend none of it mattered." Daniel's jaw tightened. He stepped closer, then stopped, as if fighting himself. "You think I want that? Every damn day I've been telling myself to keep the line, to be responsible, to do the right thing. But when I look at you," his voice cracked, "I can't keep pretending either." The silence that followed was electric. And then, slowly, carefully, he closed the distance between us. When his hand found mine, I didn't pull away. When his forehead rested against mine, I didn't breathe. And when his lips finally touched mine, soft and trembling, I knew there was no going back. We kissed like the world could collapse around us, and maybe it did because nothing else existed in that moment except him. His hands warm against my skin, his breath uneven and desperate, the taste of something I'd been starving for without even knowing it. It wasn't perfect. It was clumsy, hesitant, full of fear and longing tangled together. But it was real, and it was ours. When we finally pulled apart, Daniel searched my face like he was memorizing it. Whatever happens after this, remember you matter more than you know. I wanted to believe him. The camp ended a few days later. Packing up, saying goodbye, pretending like everything was normal, it felt unbearable. But beneath the sadness, there was something else. Hope. Because even if I didn't know what came next, I knew I wasn't alone anymore. On the last morning, before the buses pulled away, Daniel found me. He pressed a folded piece of paper into my hand, his touch lingering just a second too long. "Open it when you're ready," he whispered. I waited until the bus was miles away, the camp nothing but a memory in the trees. Then I unfolded the paper. It was simple, just a phone number, scrawled in his messy handwriting, and 3 words that made my heart stop. "You're worth it." Years later, when I look back, I don't remember every detail of camp. Not the hikes, not the songs, not even the games. What I remember is him, the way he made me feel seen, the way he taught me that love wasn't something to be ashamed of, the way he changed me without even trying. Daniel wasn't just my mentor that summer. He was my beginning. And sometimes, beginnings are all you need. Thank you for listening. If you find it interesting, please like and subscribe to follow the next stories.